Huzzah! It is I, medieval Matt Damon, coming to joust you. Can't really see out of this thing. It's not supposed to be worn this way. It's actually a backwards Mandalorian helmet, but that's not the point. The point is that these are my thoughts on the new Ridley Scott film starring Matt Damon, Adam Driver, Ben Affleck, and Jodie Comer, The Last Duel. Now that that's out of the way, I can share my thoughts on the movie. So going into this, I really had no perception of how much I was going to like it, or really what the tone was going to be, who I was going to root for, what the right side was. I quickly figured out that none of the characters who weren't Jodie Comer were good people. They were essentially all horrible. They were all selfish. They were all liars. They were all incredibly misogynistic. Matt Damon, like, marginally less so, but still terrible to his wife. So that as the setup, I was intrigued within the first 20 minutes. On the first 20 minutes, however, they had possibly the worst pacing I've ever seen in a movie of this type. Basically how it starts is that the first third is from Matt Damon's point of view, and you see the entire plot leading up to the duel from his point of view. Then you go through Adam Driver's point of view, then Jodie Comer's, and you see the duel from her eyes. But the first 20 minutes were Matt Damon, and it just kind of skipped around his life in the most nonsensical and emotionless way. It would show 5 minutes of a battle, then 10 years later, this is where things stand. And I get that it was trying to sell you on the fact that these guys have been friends for years, but really all it did was show the conflicts they had had, so you don't really see them being friends whatsoever before they start to have problems. So that's the one thing where I was kind of like, I don't know about this. But once you get past that and it gets into the actual swing of the story, it was so good. Like, I have honestly very few other negative things to say about this movie. Once you understand that Jodie Comer is the victim, well, obviously we knew she's the victim, but once you understand that the rape was really the last straw for her, like, she had been beaten down by this society, this environment, by her husband, by the other men she come into contact with, even by her father, who was just trying to sell her off for land, which I get was the point of medieval marriages, but still, she was in a horrible, horrible position, and even by the end was unfulfilled. So when you guys watch this movie, just understand that you're going to feel sorry for her. You're going to feel like her entire arc is both the soul of the movie and the most depressing part of the movie, and that she should absolutely win an Oscar for this. If she is not even nominated, I might lead a march upon the Academy offices, because she was so good in this movie. I cannot stress it enough. I watched Free Guy back in August. You guys saw the review. She was good enough, but that was Free Guy. That was a little Ryan Reynolds action movie with, you know, the funny blissful ignorance and the video game CGI, and she just kind of had a storyline, but it wasn't like she was getting to show her full acting chops. In this movie, I was taken aback. Like, she just felt so real, and because of how topical it was, how much it resembled the Me Too movement, even though it was set hundreds of years ago, it could not be more contemporary. The action is visceral, it's emotional, it pulls out your brain and kind of tinkers with it, because every single shot looks like a painting that could be hanging in the Met, like a medieval kind of battle war scene. Like, the Last Duel itself is shot with such like a grand effect, and I will say this movie had a little more CGI than I'm used to in movies like this, but I understand, changing times, Hollywood, just, you know, Ridley tried to use a little fewer effects, because some of the CGI was a little clunky. As far as the cast goes, Matt Damon was great. Not a great person, as I said, but his acting was great. The thing I loved about how the story was split up is that the scenes played out differently a lot of times. That just felt so different to any movie of this kind before, because it was really more of a interpretive drama than a war movie, which I liked. Some people might not like it. It's not Gladiator. It's not, one of these big kind of like war epics. You're not going to get that. It's very much character-based. Yeah, so the cast was great. Writing was great. Visuals are great. Like I said, some pacing issues at the beginning, but I can let that slide for now. So I will give this movie a solid 4 stars out of 5. And that is all for today. Signing off on The Last Duel.